Hi, this is Bill Vick. I'm talking to Sharon Hulce. Sharon is the president of Employment Resource Group, or ERG. I love I'm going to call it their mission statement, which is to hire for attitude and then train for skills. And I think it just defines what a good candidate-client relationship is in the recruiting business, Sharon. And thank you so much for spending a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you, Bill, for asking.
One of the things I think that most people always like to understand is it's kind of what I call the 20,000 foot view, or the what brought you to the party question. And if you look at your background, few of us grew up to become recruiters. We and somehow evolved into it. What's your story of how you became a recruiter, and what brought you to found and direct and run ERG, which is just a super successful recruiting firm?
Well, my story is sort of the career found me. I was working for a women's clothing company as a national recruiter. They were in North Carolina, so I was traveling every day. And I was traveling from St. Louis to Chicago. And, the typical flight attendants, please prepare for landing. And we didn't land, and we didn't land. And an hour later, we still hadn't landed. And the pilot came on and he said, well, we're going to give it to you straight. They found our landing gear back where we took off in St. Louis. So long story short, 4 hours later, we had a belly landing and I became a very nervous flyer. I'm not anymore, but at that time I was. And I knew that I had to find a career that would be, the competency piece would be still be there, because I loved the recruiting piece for the clothing company, but yet I didn't have to travel. So I literally opened up, of course, we didn't have the internet back then. I opened up the yellow pages and found management recruiters of Appleton, called my then boss, and that was on a Friday, and I started on a Monday.
Wow. Wow. Now, what year was that, Sharon?
It was 1996.
All right. So at that point in time, and I think management recruiters in many ways has shaped the recruiting industry for how they do what they do. And there's many, many people that we both know
Right.
that came out of that environment. And they're a very training centric company. Did you carry over the concepts from MRI, or did you kind of create some new ones?
Well, what I would tell you is I agree with you. The training aspect and really the fundamentals of the business, be on the phone, build relationships, all that still runs true today. As far as how the business is done, though, we're very different than MRI. We're a fully retained search firm. We also really work hard on the retention piece, not just the fulfillment of finding a search, but really understanding the values of the organization and then how that bleeds not only into search, but also retention.
Well, I know that you, over a 2 year window of time, have a 97% retention rate of people you've placed in companies and organizations,
We do.
which is just incredible. How do you do that?
Well, it's through a lot of preliminary work in the beginning to get to the place where we do the search. So when we take a search, we actually meet with the leadership team of that organization. So the president, senior vice president, executive VPs, and we put them in a room and we really try to unpeel the onion on values. What I found in 20 years of doing this is people fit or don't fit based on the values of the organization. So if an organization, for example, tells you that work ethic is incredibly important to them and their people work half days, 6 to 6, and it's long hours, to find a millennial who their priority is work-life balance and they want to be out the door at noon on Friday, it doesn't fit. I don't care what the organization, what their values are, if it's family life. What I care about mostly is to figure out how do we make sure that we find people that are in alignment with the values of the leadership team. If they are, it works tremendous. If they're not, it tends to be a bad hire. And ultimately, even if the person is technically incredibly competent, they end up not working out because they fall out of alignment with what's important to the leaders of the organization.
So, if I understand what you're saying correctly, you see your role not only is go find them, maybe sometimes drag them kicking and screaming back to the client, but also to make sure that it's the right fit and the right job with the right management team and the right experience.
Yeah. The thing that I think has made us unique is the fact that we really spend that time to figure that out. In retaining customers, they're not going to continue to work with you if the people you place continue to turn over. And everybody, I mean, we're not perfect either. We've certainly had people who didn't work out, and we've had to honor our guarantee. We give a very long guarantee. We give a 180-day guarantee. So we want to make sure they get what they paid for. But I also find that the reason our retention rate is so high is because we really do that due diligence. And not only the technical piece is really just a point of entry. They have to have the resume that fits the qualifications, but really understanding that behind the curtain piece is what I think makes a good recruiter great.
So when you say hire for attitude, that covers a pretty good spread of talents.
Well, if you think about the soft skills piece, so much of it is that it's pride, hustle, desire, passion, work ethic. And if we all really were honest with ourselves and think about our own businesses, I would much rather have someone walk in my door who's passionate and has great energy and a good attitude than somebody who's been a recruiter 10 years and happens to know how to pick up the phone, but yet really doesn't want to be involved in the business, right? So our clients hire for the exact same things we hire for. They hire for people who can bring an energy and a passion and an attitude, and the rest is just trainable. It's all skills that you can learn. You know, they have to have the baseline, especially if they're a senior level executive, which is where we mostly place. They have to have that baseline of experience and technical skills. But once that's defined, the person that gets the job is really based on that connection from a core, fundamental, in your heart values piece.
You know, the reputation you have in the industry, which is just, it's golden, literally golden, because you have a reputation as a team builder. And I think those recruiters that work in your organization, that work with you and for you, respect that, understand that, and they really are part of a team. How did you build that team spirit, Sharon?
Well, I think it's really no different than what we do for our clients. Early on, Bill, when I first started my own organization, I worked for Management Recruiters for about 6 years, and then I started Employment Resource Group. I didn't do well on my own hiring. And, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, this is what I do for a living, and I'm not picking the right people for my own organization. What am I not doing right? And it really came down to understanding in my personal being, what is it that makes a person work well with me, and what is it that makes us challenged with each other. I am a very demanding boss. I mean, our performance for our clients is number one with me. And I'm very good to my team members, but I also have very high expectations on delivery and quality and all of those things, speed to hire, all of the things that are important to our clients. So for me, it's finding people that really understand my energy level, my pace, my absolute commitment to quality for our clients. And once we started really figuring that out and figuring out how people integrated with me, we started building a much better team. And we have a great team today, great team of people.
I don't think many recruiters would understand your concept of, I'm going to call it the one-to-one ratio, because that's
Right.
really what you do. If you have a search, you place it. You
We
have
do.
a 100% search to fill ratio, which in the recruiting industry, it's not unheard of. It's pretty rare atmosphere.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Well, it's the whole, we have the separate division, which is the consulting division, Pinnacle Talent. And that division really is built around making sure that if they tell us what they're looking for, we're going to find it. Now, every now and then they'll find someone on their own, the person that happens to walk in the door, which is why our ratio is about 1 to 1.06, because every now and then they'll find someone on their own. But we don't stop until we fill it. And we go to shortlist, and kind of how we're set up, my recruiters will do the initial recruiting. So they'll talk to all the candidates. We'll bring in anywhere from 20 to 50 resumes on a search, depending on the difficulty and the number of candidates, the geographical salary, all of that. And then every single candidate, so good cop, bad cop, every single candidate in that presentation comes to me. And I'm a very tough interviewer. You can't BS a BSer, right? So I really ask the hard questions, and I will pull out of them if that candidate is a good interviewer versus really, really competent and able to do the job. So when we present 5, we know that all 5 can do the job. Technically, they're very competent. But we also know that there's enough difference in personality, but their values, that baseline, honesty, integrity, whatever it is there. Finance, fiscal responsibility, whatever that's important. Because my line of questioning, once the recruiters do the standard data sheet, my line of questioning is really built around the values and doing that sort of behavior based. Give me an example of when built around the soft skills and the values of the company.
You know, one of the things that I think is really interesting about, because I think most recruiters, I know you are very much numbers oriented and geared to track performance. When you look at the performance, what are the keys that you measure when you say to yourself, John or Sally is doing a great job because what outside of the placements, which is an obvious number,
Sure.
what's the numbers you look at that are important?
You know, it's funny. I don't track numbers like people would think that I would track numbers. For me, it's really about quality of candidate. It's about their energy level they bring every day. Um, the people that I've been challenged by are people who I think have that entitlement. They come into the office and they're not passionate about the client. We visit every client face to face. And if I know a particular recruiter, we're segmented by industry because we work construction and manufacturing and banking. And so we work several different industries. That recruiter will also go on the visit with me. So we see firsthand not only obviously the organization and what they're all about, but we see the environment that they'll be sitting in. And I have found that being able to offer that to the recruiters as well as myself gives them that ability to get excited and to sell the story. I mean, we're not selling the fact that they could be a project manager in a construction company. We're selling the story behind why that company is unique. Everybody builds a pretty building. Everybody builds a pretty building. But why is it? What's a story that makes this company incredibly unique and why would I want to go to work there? So for me, I really listen to the stories, understanding what is it that they need to know. And certainly we look at placements but I am much more forgiving. My top recruiter right now was awful his first 2 years. He was awful. If you just looked at the numbers. But he had all the right passion, drive. He was always on the phone. He kept improving. And today he's a top 50 biller. I mean, he's amazing. So if people are doing all the right things, it's just like when you're in a work environment. If you're the person who raises your hand and said, I will try, I might not be perfect at it, but I'll try. I find that that's much more valuable to me than somebody who happens to have 4 hours of phone time every day. I just want to know that they're connecting to people in a really personal level. And if that's happening, I'm good.
Excellent. Well, Sharon, I just say, I just applaud what you're doing because I think it's unique from the standpoint of the results you're getting. And congratulations on that. And thank you so much for the time and sharing the wisdom and hopefully sharing with a few other recruiters those pathways to success.
Yeah, anybody needs any information, they can certainly call me, Bill. I'm happy to share what we're doing.
All right. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you.